Hidden Figures tells the story of Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Mary Jackson, three African-American women who worked at NASA and were responsible for helping NASA catch up in the space race and getting John Glenn to be the first American astronaut in space to orbit around the Earth. This movie came out this previous weekend, but I saw it last month at a press screening, so my memory on this movie is not as fresh as it might be for you guys out there watching. But one thing that I definitely do remember with this movie is that it's pretty damn good. I'm just going to cut right to the chase with my opinions on this movie. This is one of those movies that comes around every year that has themes that are just as relevant today as they were back in the time period they took place. This movie takes place during the Civil Rights era and during the space race. It was at a time when African American women, let alone African Americans, were not really treated with that much respect. And one thing I really admire is that it's a movie that takes place during the Civil Rights era, mentions the Civil Rights era, but is not about the Civil Rights era. It does focus on segregation and how these women basically broke ground and became heroes in their own right, but it doesn't really focus on like the Martin Luther King aspect of the civil rights movement. It focuses on it in a smaller scale that's just as impactful. And the performances are all great from everyone. Even Kevin Costner, who is not that good nowadays, here he was actually pretty good. Taraji Henson plays the main lead, Katherine Johnson, and she is also fantastic in this movie. You really admire her dedication to the job, and you really appreciate how much smarter she is than everyone else in the room. Now, this is a really great movie overall. I really did enjoy it, and I definitely recommend it, but I did have one big problem with it, and maybe it was based on expectations, but the title of this movie is Hidden Figures. Most of the movie focuses on Katherine Johnson, and not the other two, Dorothy Vaughan played by Octavia Spencer, and Mary Jackson played by Janelle Monáe. I feel like they really got pushed to the sidelines to the point where we did see a little bit of their contributions, but then they'll introduce plot points that they set up and don't really resolve until the end of the movie with the whole, here's what this person did in real life after the events of this movie. Like with Mary Jackson, she was the first African-American woman to take night classes at a community college just to earn her degree to be an engineer. They introduced that segment and show how she had to fight for her right to go to these night classes, but they don't really follow up on that. I was a little disappointed, especially with the movie being titled Hidden Figures, plural. But in the long run, this movie is absolutely great. It's got great performances, its message is strong, and it's also got a really great soundtrack. There were some parts of the movie where I was really digging the music. So this is one that's definitely worth seeing in your lifetime. I would have reviewed this sooner, but I've been swamped with a bunch of other videos. So I'm sorry that this is coming out when it is, but given that the movie just had its wide release this past weekend, I think now is a better time than never. So definitely go see this movie, especially if you're really into these kinds of movies. It'll leave you with a good feeling, and it's really inspiring. And that's my review for Hidden Figures. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below and tell me what your thoughts are on the movie, if and when you've seen it. And as always, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there is only one.